How many of y'all seen this video? You know, I always wondered where the story came from, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, that the Adolf Hitler's, narrative came from, and now I know why. Allegedly, these are the real pure Nordic race, which are blonde hair and blue-eyed. I don't know what to believe no more, but I'm gonna tell you why this makes more sense. Because you remember that symbol that party in Germany used to brandish? The same symbol that is on Yale's library, which was built or predates the 1600s. Don't you realize that this building also predates the letter J? Facts. So that symbol, which was of the German party, which is a symbol of the black hole sun, you know what I mean? If these are children of the sun, why would the German party, if this is not the German party, because I believe it is, and everything that we've been told has been a lie, World War I, World War II, everything. Watch this video. And I can't show this on TikTok even though I'm making it on here, but I'm only going to put it on private, or save it, and Instagram, and I can't show this on YouTube because they'll ban me. So only IG will get this video.
The real Germany, the empire of the children of the sun, and how this empire was erased from history, and the lies that have been told about the so-called black man and woman. Let us discuss the facts about how the real pure Nordic race of blonde-haired, blue-eyed people were the children of the sun, and how the fables and fictitious stories that the Europeans have made about their race of people is completely a lie. They are the genetic hybrids of the original humans. And in their old papers, they would discuss the original people of Germany as swarthy, or Nordic, or black, or dark, and having blonde hair. In ancient history, they've always been known to have blonde hair and blue eyes in this area. And the Hitler that they put in place is not the original Hitler. The real Hitler was a black man. And the empire of Germany was the empire of the children of the sun. And if you look at their history, at their notes, you will see that they evidently, openly admit that Germany was ruled by the black man and woman, the children of the sun, and this was their empire. And this is what they were taking over during World War I and World War II. They were over trying to destroy the empires that the children of the sun ruled in Europe, Asia, and in Spain. And let us look at this tapestry from 1455, ancient Germany, 1400s. And in the depiction, you can see the black Moors in the kingdom with the blonde hair fighting the European, or the wild man, who's now known as the European white man, but he was known as the wild man then. But you can see they had blonde hair, and if you look closely into the detail, you'll see they tried to put blue around the eyes to signal that these were blonde-haired, blue-eyed Nordic people from Germany. These were the original children of the sun, the rulers of this kingdom and of this land. These are the founding fathers of the advanced technological, architectural, Semitic wonders you see in Germany till this day. And they are the original people of Earth who ruled in Germany. And just take a look at the tapestry. They show that they're black with blonde hair, blue eyes, and these are what you call your master Aryan race that Hitler, the white fake Hitler, was telling his people existed, trying to make it seem like it was the Europeans that were actually these people. And so we have to ask, who was actually Hitler if this gentleman Adolf Hitler that we see here wasn't Hitler? And this is just a theory that, the real Hitler was actually a part of the Moorish Empire, and he was actually of Germanian Aussie descent, and he was a child of the sun, and that this gentleman here with the Charlie Chaplin mustache was actually an actor, and this isn't the real Hitler, supposedly. And then when you look at the real picture of Hitler, he was actually a Moorish general in the army of Germany at the time, who were defending themselves against the wild man and against insurrectors who had turned against the empire and were trying to overthrow it. And this is where they came up with their Aryan, blonde-haired, blue-eyed race theory from the original Germany and the original children of the sun, who were blonde-haired with blue-eyed. So we know Hitler was actually a black Moor, and he was one of the last black Moors from the empire of the children of the sun who ruled in Germany. And even Benjamin Franklin wrote in his notes that most of the people in Germany were black. They were swarthy complected, right? And remember, swarthy means black. And this is Benjamin Franklin who wrote these notes to his people saying that this land was inhabited by the children of the sun, and the swarthy complexion people built this empire. And in Europe, we have the Spaniards, the Italians, the French, and all of Europe was ruled by black people, is stating that they were swarthy complected people. We're talking French, Italians, and Spaniards. So the original people were swarthy colored, dark hue or dusky complected people who ruled in Europe. And this is the history they are trying to erase. And you have Germany, which is right next to Austria, which is where the real black Hitler was from. And he was described as swarthy and as being a dark complected man. And they literally rewrote history and took this out of our understanding. So they stole the story about the real blonde-haired, blue-eyed, powerful race of people and gave themselves that indoctrination, but they left out the fact that they got these traits from black people because they are a mutated version of black people, and they can't have genes that we don't possess because they get everything from us. But so the blonde hair and blue eyes is actually a DNA trait of the children of the sun. And because the Europeans are a mutated version of the children of the sun, they are capable of having this blonde hair and blue eyes. But they rewrote the narrative in history as if black people can't have blonde hair and blue eyes, as if we're not the originators of this source of ingenuity with humans. But we are the original blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, and the European people only have blonde hair and blue eyes because they are a mutated version of the children of the sun. And this is what they have been trying to deny and eliminate out of history. And they want you to think that when Hitler's talking about this master race of Aryan, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, he's actually talking about the Europeans, but he's actually talking about the children of the sun, the so-called black man, Negro, man and woman here now in America and all over the so-called globe, the firmament. But we are the originators of the blonde hair and blue eyes. So you have to understand the reason they say Caucasian people are the only ones, or wanted you to believe they are the only ones who can get blonde hair and blue eyes, is because when Hitler was describing the aesthetics of these powerful people, they wanted you to believe it was the so-called modern day European man and woman, but it's actually the children of the sun. And if you review the tapestry from 1455 again, you'll notice that the Moors are fighting the pale wild men. They're fighting them for their empire and their kingdom. And this was something that they detailed because for hundreds of years, they had started fighting the wild men that they once educated and brought into the kingdom to try to civilize. And it should be noted that they had blonde hair and blue eyes, and they were dark-skinned people of Germany. Once again, this is the empire that was taken over by the wild man. So when you look at these depictions from the past, you see that the so-called black man and woman Negro of modern times had the blonde hair, blue eyes, and the dark skin traits first, and that we are the original humanity. In conclusion, the so-called black man and woman are the originators of blonde hair and blue eyes, and this is why their empire was taken over. And they are the original Aryans that Hitler spoke of, right? But in their papers, they tried to say that the Negro blood and Hitler's Aryans, Hitler stole his whole Aryan theory from the children of the sun and these 9 ether beings. So when you research the documents of the past and you find out that the Aryans were the so-called black man and woman, we are the 9 ether beings who originate the blonde hair, the blue eyes, and every trait. And you realize that Hitler was not a real person, and some even say he could have later played Walt Disney. But the empire of Germany was of the Tartarian empire of the children of the sun, as you see the griffins. So in conclusion, it has been discovered that the history we were taught about Hitler and the Jews and, the Nazis and all of this was a conflicted history. The Jews are said to have been persecuted for being Khazarian descendants who are now taking the imagery of the Jews, and this is why the Hitler we know of was after them. So it said we are led to believe that the children of the sun ruled in Germany and ruled in that part of Europe as Moors still when World War I jumped off, and it was about them stealing our culture. This is after they had already been taught how to dress, and they had taken our style, our military understanding of how to rule the country, and they had been amongst us with the griffin ruling the nation as the symbol for hundreds of years before this actually took place. So they were already residents within the empire of the children of the sun in Germany. And the story we're getting of Hitler is just a complete tale made up allegedly to disassociate the fact that this was the empire of the children of the sun, and the Europeans learned everything that they know from the culture of so-called black people. And this was our culture, from the dancing to the dress code to the laws, the legislation, to everything. I mean, they're Sigmund Freud, they're psychologists. All of these people know that the origin of the empires did not come with the degeneracy of Hitler, and that World War II was not about anything other than overthrowing the last empire of the children of the sun. And so the narrative is the Hitler we know of was an actor. He was not the real Hitler, and the real Hitler, who was a black Moorish descendant of the empire of the children of the sun, was erased from history.
We gave you language when all you could do was grunt, and now you rewrite history because the truth hurts and your lies bring comfort. Be grateful, beast, we made you human. The story you call Beauty and the Beast is about a cave people.
They called themselves beasts, uncivilized, hairy, roaming the forest, centuries before the Moors uplifted them. We gave them libraries, streets, science, even portly Roman.
Look, what was 1350 CE? Europeans described themselves as wild beasts.
It's right here in the records. Bestiarium, Homo sylvestris. Europeans were literally classified as beast men.
Our archives show the truth. We civilized Europe. 1893, Europe literally called its own people wild men, beast men.
Livre de Merveille said they looked hairy as beasts.
Charlemagne's capitulary fined them for attacking caravans.
Beauty was the Moors. The beast was Europe.
Beauty was ours! The Moorish woman! The scholar! The noble! The divine! And the beast, a symbol of the caves, the people that lost their way, violent, cursed, desperate for her light. They repainted her. They rewrote her. Look at you, standing in a castle we built. We taught you to obey. When you stand so proud, the answer is sour. We forced you upright. Time blanks your back so you'd stop walking on all fours. We gave you language, but all you did was growl like swine in the mud. And now, you erased us. We made you civilized. And your descendants, in the year 2025, they still hide the
beauty was the Moors, the beast was Europe, and the fairy tale was their confession.